Has Mark Cuban lost his dang mind? What happened to this guy? You have got to check out what he just said.
See what he said after this, because after this, he's a sharp guy. He has to say something after the poll is over with. Does he say anything about it? Zoom in to see if he says anything. Is that it? Hey, Elon, how come there were only 804,000 votes for the poll, but only 656,000 engagements in the analytics? What? Yet 17.5 million people that saw the tweet.
He's trying to debunk his own.
Go a little lower.
Poll.
So let's see if Elon responded to that. Go a little lower, Rob. Mark, yes, responding to this poll within X tweets as an engagement for the post analytics. Engagement on X varies. Engagements are people opening the tweet itself, scoring on replies, threads under. Voting on a poll doesn't require a person to engage in a tweet. Okay, go a little lower. And just like that, Mr. Communist is now an election denier.
So,
Mr. Ruka, are you questioning the results of a free and fair election, Mark?
Of course he is.
Go above.
That's my favorite.
8 million followers, and you get ratioed on every post. Go above it. Go above it, Rob. Let's see what his next tweet is after this. Let's see if he's got another thing that he says. I'm just curious. Go above it, Mark Cuban. He says something like that. Great point. How nice that it would be to get rid of anonymous accounts on Twitter. Okay, keep going up. Let's see what else he says. Who I vote for, one legit point. My own concern is not with work, however, but with a friend's having been swatted because her boyfriend said she was easier. All right. So anyways, look, I mean, you got to love the free market when somebody tries to go out there and do a poll and the market responds to you in a way that you did. How many followers does he have? What's the number all the way at the top?
8.8 million.
8.8 million. 10% voted. 69% voted for Trump. 31% voted
what
for.
What happened to Mark Cuban, Pat? Like what? From what? Because I know you pay attention to, like, you have your foot, like you know what's happening. What flips this guy from all the positive that he used to talk about Trump? What happened? How did that brain melt happen when it comes to Donald Trump?
I honestly think it's one of two reasons why Mark Cuban is so harsh on Donald Trump. Number one is that he is just straight up jealous of him. When you imagine a rich billionaire, you don't say Mark Cuban. You think of Donald Trump, the Trump logo, the Trump brand. Mark Cuban must be just furious that Donald Trump stepped into the political arena and won. He would never be able to do that, and he knows it. Or number two, I think people might have dirt on this man because some of the things he says regarding economics and Kamala Harris are so blatantly wrong, and you would figure Mark Cuban would know this better than anyone, and he just refuses to admit it. It just seems he will shill for Kamala Harris no matter what.
Do business together. I know like the average people that have Trump derangement syndrome, but these people this high that let Trump get to them that much, what is it? What do you think it is?
So you know, there's the people that typically win at the highest level are generally some of the most sensitive people. And I know it kind of sounds weird, like, wait, what? Don't they like not give a shit? They're generally some of the most sensitive people. That includes Musk, that includes Trump, that includes a lot of people. So it's not, that includes Michael. It's not sensitive in the way that you think of sensitive, because typically you think of sensitive, you think of what?
Like kind of, please don't bother me.
You know, it's kind of like when girls say, you're so jealous to men. No, men are territorial.
Yes.
You're my girl. If you want me to treat you as my girl, not one of my 5 girls, this is what comes with that territory. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm protective of this. I don't like it when you do ta. Oh my God, he's so jealous. Nope, he's territorial. That's how we are. We protect, right? So there's a difference to say jealousy versus territorial, right? Same thing with sensitivity. Sensitivity isn't, you know, oh my God, he hurt my feelings and I can't believe this, and, you know, it's feelings. No, it's Mark Cuban, when Trump was running, started campaigning as if he wanted a job on Trump's campaign and Trump's team, okay? That's what he sounded like. And one time somebody asked him a question about Cuban. I don't know who asked him a question about Mark Cuban, and Trump didn't say anything bad about Mark Cuban. This was early on in 15, 16. Mm-hmm. And Trump's answer was like, look, you know, he's a good businessman. He's done very well for himself. He didn't say anything at the time, okay? He was just very much, could have been Fallon or Kimmel, one of those two types of guys asked him the question, okay? So there are a lot of things you don't know about. Maybe they had a conversation behind closed doors. They negotiated. Trump made a promise to him and he didn't keep. Maybe there was a job offer that he made. He didn't want to do it. And he gave it to somebody else because whatever Cuban was going to work to raise money for him and didn't do it, and whatever Trump. So Trump's also like the same way as well. And Trump can change his mind like this for a job. You know, like when he's like, hey, RFK should have waited to the very end to give the job, to be part of the endorsement to Trump, because he could have asked for more for Trump, because now that you already did, Trump doesn't have to give you a job when he becomes a president, which is kind of true.
Yes.
So those are the things that we don't know about. It could be that simple. You know, some people say, well, somebody probably has something on it with women and girls and all this stuff. Maybe, you know, maybe you could put a percentage on that. But usually it could be as simple as call happened, promise was made, promise wasn't delivered, permanent vendetta for the rest of their lives against somebody like him.
I can see that.
And by the way, you know, sometimes in some of these issues that you have with certain guys you do business with, enemies, competitors, sometimes all it takes is just to say, hey, man, I effed up. Okay, cool. All right. Man-to-man conversation. And typically high driving, hard charging, it's like, boom, boom, we move on, right? But that situation, I don't think is going to happen from Trump to him or Cuban to Trump.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen at that level. That's how simple I think this is.
Okay.
I agree with you on the fact that I think this is something personal is happening here, because there seems to be a permanent vendetta. I think it was on Bill Maher's show. Then in 2015, he's like, look, you know, as an outsider like Trump, he's, you know, we kind of need something like that.
Yeah,
Said those
of course.
words. And he goes, well, obviously he's got zero chance of winning. No chance whatsoever. So he obviously had to eat those words. And now that he's just gone down the path of whether you call it TDS, whether you call it a personal vendetta, it seems to be clear on one thing. His mind is made up. He's not looking to deviate from that. He's dug in. He's clinging to that. And when you're clinging to a position, you give zero wiggle room to be like, well, maybe this, that, the other. He's gone fully down the DEI path. He's gone fully down the ESG path. And he's just made his mind up, and he's just doubling down on that, because at what point can you make a U-turn and save face? I don't think that's going to happen with this guy. So, and then, I don't know, this might be somewhat controversial. I actually don't put a lot of credence into that specific Twitter poll, because if you look at any poll out there in the world in general, it's all within the margin of error of 2 to 5%, depending on who you ask.
I mean, no one is really believing that poll that much, because in reality, anybody can vote. People can vote from Africa. People can vote from Australia. Because number one, we don't know that these are American citizens voting in that Twitter poll. But what's so funny about what they just said is I remember the exact quote from 2015, 2016. Mark Cuban was talking about Donald Trump and said he had the opportunity to become the outsider and get into Washington, but he just doesn't do the work. He's not a workhorse. He doesn't get the job done. What was so blasphemous about that statement is that Donald Trump is one of the hardest workers on planet Earth right now. Remember back in 2020, these elections, he was going to 6-7 different places in a single day to host a rally. And he only sleeps 4 hours a day. If you're telling me a man like that is lazy, then I want to see your description of somebody who works hard. Because I sure as hell know that Donald Trump outworks Mark Cuban 10 times out of 10.
It was
70-30.
There's zero polls that show that there's this much, even in the economy. Like, why would the economy be even close? Trump to Kamala, it's still only 10 points, whatever it is.
Nuts.
So this poll done, and then there are stats out there that
It's
show.
just funny. You're right.
Exactly.
It's just funny is what it is.
Yes.
Honestly, that's really all
It's more
it
about
is.
Mark Cuban recognizing, hey, bro, Twitter is not going to be your friend on this.
Yeah.
Twitter has gone a little bit more free speech towards the right, and it's not exactly his audience.
By the way, just so you know, Trump and Cuban have a lot in common.
Yeah.
They have a lot in common, but one is winning, the other one's losing.
You're right. You're
That's
right
just
about
what it
that.
is. And one everyone's talking about, and everyone wants to be like you. The other side is like the people that are following Mark's lead are very different types of people. And sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes you go into a message and you'll follow the message. You're like, yeah. And you're getting a positive reaction. Oh, that was great. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then you end up in a room full of LGBTQ. You're like, oh, but that's where he's at now. No.
Yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's like, what am I doing in
just
this
happened
room?
here?
I'm not you guys.
I'm a basketball fan.
DEI. Why am I in the room with everybody talking DEI? I've had the whitest team in the NBA 75% of the time for 20 years because I recruit European players. They're easier to deal with contracts. What am I doing? Those guys are team players, and Dirk was willing to take less money to have other people coming in. How did I end up in this room? It's because the mob recruited you over, and it took years for you to realize you're now so in, you can't leave now. And once they get you, they get you. That's exactly how they do it.
That's such
he's in the
it's such a difficult position to be in.
But you don't know
when you can. What's the whole thing? When you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yep.
He's just piling it on.
Yeah.
It's like stop,
listen,
Mark.
in the insurance company we ran, you would have some guys that would take a position, and all of a sudden, certain people defend them. You know what? You're right. Pat is wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. And then eventually, they're holding a meeting, and you know who were the people that were in that meeting? All the non-performing leaders.
Weird.
You know what that meant?
Yeah.
You are the leader of the non-performing leaders.
Yeah, congrats.
And all the other people in the other room were all the performing leaders, and that guy is now saying, shit, I'm officially the leader of the non-performing leaders. Man, that must suck. Exactly. That's kind of how this thing works out.
I mean, what a fall from graces. Mark Cuban was the man. Everybody liked this dude. He was leading Shark Tank. That was like one of the most popular shows on network television. People were turning their backs on him because he has turned his back on the American people. If he supports Kamala Harris and he endorses her, it's clear that he doesn't really care much for the average American because people will suffer if Kamala gets in. And because he has such strong stances on Kamala Harris, the Dallas Mavericks ticket sales have dropped 40% just because he's been so outspoken about Donald Trump. And that's a sight to see. That's capitalism at its finest. You could speak all the junk you want, but that does not mean that I have to support you. Me personally, I like the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, but I am not going to be supporting them another day in my life as long as Mark Cuban is connected with them. Goodbye, I don't care. America comes before all this petty bread and circuses anyway, so forget about that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you think Mark Cuban will recognize his wrongs and he will turn his back to this nonsense? Or do you think he's lost? He's permanently lost, he's never coming back. Let me know, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.